Hi everybody. Today we'll be doing a core workout. It's going to be about 10-12 minutes long, so it'll be very good to put at maybe it's the end of a workout or the start of a workout and you need to get a little bit of ab work in, something like that. This will be really good for those applications. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working off the three planes of motion. So if you watched our bonus video that we put out last week, I kind of talked a little bit about the three planes of motion: frontal, sagittal, and transverse. So we're going to build on that a little bit. It's just something that I tend to use to make sure that I'm getting a good full functional, really good workout when I'm doing workouts for myself and when I'm writing workouts for my clients. So the frontal plane of motion is going to be side to side. I always think of a door right in front of me. That's the frontal plane of motion. The sagittal plane of motion is going to be forward and back. So when you're looking forward, it's forward and back. The transverse plane of motion is going to be twisting around a point. So I always think of like my upper body twisting around my hips as a point. On top of that, we're going to put in a static exercise every time we do a round. So we're going to start out with the frontal plane. That's going to be a side plank. That one is most closely to the frontal plane of motion. Then we're going to go sagittal. That's going to be knee tucks, just forward and back knee tucks. Transverse plane, we're going to do a Russian twist. Then the static exercise, we'll do a dead bug hold. Frontal plane, we're going to go back into the side plank. Again, I know that's not motion, but it's most closely related. So we're going to go back into the side plank. We're going to go on the other side of what we just did. Sagittal, we're going lying candlestick. That'll be up and forward, up and forward. Transverse plane, we're going lying bicycle. Hopefully you can get in that bicycle crunch so you can really get a good twist in there. And then finally you'll be doing a plank for your last static exercise. Everything is going to be 1 minute 20 seconds with 15 seconds rest in between. So it's going to be a little bit longer sets. It's going to be a little bit more endurance-y feeling type workout today. So go ahead and crank up some music. Let's get started. All right, first exercise we're going to start right in on. It's the side plank. You'll hear those beeps. That'll signify the start of the round or the end of the round, the start of the rest. Side plank, we're really going up, holding on that side, making sure your body is in a straight line. Now, if you can't do this just normally off of your foot, you can bring that knee down, bring the foot back behind, straight behind the knee, and then bring the knee down and work off your knee. But, of course, we're always trying to get up to our foot on there, trying to get that straight body. And that's a rest. You can drop down. Next one, we're going to go on to knee tucks. So this is just lying down on our back. You're going to kick out with the feet and then go back and tuck your knees. That's the starting bell. So you're kicking out with the feet, going back, tuck the knees. Kick out with the feet, go out, back, tuck the knees. Make sure as you're doing this, you're trying to stay low to the ground. You're trying to stay as low to the ground with your feet as you can, and then you're bringing your feet back almost like there's a string attached to your knees. And you'll start to notice you might slide a little bit on here. A couple of these exercises, a couple of these times, I had to stop the exercise and even slide myself back a little bit because I was kind of getting a little bit restricted on space. That's kind of what we're going through right now. A lot of people are a little bit restricted on space. So you'll have a couple of times when you kind of have to move around a little bit. Just keep rolling through it. And there's the resting bell. We're going to drop down. We're going to have a 15-second rest before we go over to our transverse movement. It's going to be a Russian twist. And you'll start that Russian twist. So really make sure you're staying up high with it. You're really getting a good twist. I always think of twisting from the side of one hip to the side of the other hip. If you can, try to keep your feet up off the ground. You'll kind of notice I tried to keep my feet up off the ground for a little while, then I had to drop them down. It was at this point it was the end of a pretty long day that I was recording this, so granted I couldn't do that the whole time, so I had to drop down a little bit. Once I kind of got my strength back a little bit, I would bring my feet up for a couple of seconds, try to hold them up, and then drop down a little bit with them. That's okay. That's what you can do. You can really try to really go at the exercise for a little bit, then slow back, go at the exercise, and slow back a little bit. Next exercise is going to be our static dead bug hold. So there's the starting bell. We're going to go on to a static dead bug hold. So on this one, you're going to have your feet high in the air, and you're going to make sure your shoulders, and I even tried to get my upper back off the ground. Feet high up, upper back and shoulders off the ground, and you're really forcing those abs to contract and really tighten you as much as you possibly can. You'll have to drop down a couple of times. That's what I had to do a couple of times on there. Um, but you're really trying to make sure you're getting the most tightening out of your abs that you can. You're keeping your feet high. You're not letting your feet drop down, anything like that. You're doing your best to keep your feet high. Again, really all it is, we're getting everything as far out from the abs, so the abs have to do as much work as possible to contract and tighten yourself up and keep yourself close. All right, we've gone round through all the planes plus the static exercise. We're going to go into our next round in 3, 2, 1. All right, so we're going to go onto a side plank on the other side. So I started out on my with my right side on the ground. So now I'm switching over to my left side on the ground. Again, do your best to dig that foot in, keep the body in a straight line. If you can't dig that foot in, that's okay. That takes a little bit longer to get there. That's what you're shooting for, but if you're not there yet, that's perfectly okay. What you'll want to do is drop down to your knee and put that foot directly behind put that bottom foot directly behind the knee with a bent leg. You're really gonna tighten at the abs. You'll end up tightening at the shoulders a little bit too. You'll even tighten your hips if you can, tighten your glutes, everything like that, and push into the ground. Don't let your don't let yourself feel like you're pulling yourself up. Really push into the ground, push through the ground. All right, next one we're going to go to is going to be a lying candlestick exercise. So the lying candlestick, what you're going to be doing, you're going to go out with the feet and tuck the knees back in. Just like that knee tuck we did earlier, it's pretty much that same exact thing. Except once you get those knees tucked, you're bringing your feet up and popping the hips up off the ground. The way you pop the hips up off the ground is by tightening the abs, contracting the abs, forcing those hips to pop up off the ground, and kicking your feet up in the air. There's a lot of movement on this one. You're having a lot of different motions that you're going through. Your joints are having to go through a lot of movement on this one. Again, you'll slide forward a little bit. I had a space restriction here, and I'm a pretty tall guy that kept sliding forward, so I kept having to kind of move myself a little bit. But that's good. That's what we're looking for, because you're getting a lot of movement out of this exercise. All right, last one's going to be a bicycle crunch. So what you're going to be doing here, laying on your back here, we're going to do basically single leg knee tucks this time. And as you're doing those single leg knee tucks, you're really trying to twist at the hips, twist your shoulders. I usually go right elbow to left leg, left elbow to right leg. So you're twisting, you're crunching one side and then crunching the other side as you're going through. You'll really attack it for a second. A minute 20 is quite a while. So what I usually do is I'll really attack it for a second, and then I'll slow down, kind of catch my bearings, and then I'll go through and attack it again. After this, you only have one more exercise. All right, last one is going to be a plank. This one is going to be a minute 20-second plank, so it is going to be a little while. You're popping your hips off the ground. Really try to do that without your knees on the ground. We're really trying to work off of our toes on everything. Something you can help yourself out with on here is you can tighten your hips, tighten your glutes. Make sure you're tightening your abs to keep your back up, to keep your back from falling. And then I usually press my toes into the ground. If I press my toes into the ground, it kind of activates my quads a little bit. I always think about keeping the shoulders right over the elbows, and then keeping my body down as close to the ground, as close to the midline as I can. And you're done with your last exercise in 3, 2, 1. Good job. All right, I'll go ahead and post this workout up at the very end screen again on here, so that you can screenshot it if you need to. You can write it down if you need to, whatever helps you the most on there. Also, note that you can change up the times on all of these exercises. I just did 1 minute 20 and 15 seconds off, just because it felt a little bit more like an endurance style. But if you need to make it a little bit quicker, you can change that to 30 seconds on, 10 seconds off, anything like that. So, as always, do your best. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact. Keep washing your hands, stay clean, stay healthy, everybody. We'll see you in the next video.